Welcome to Aspire to Retire.
The show that helps you plan smarter, retire with confidence, and enjoy that future you worked so hard for.
We're diving into the strategies and insights you need to build a secure and fulfilling retirement.
No jargon, no confusion, just clear, expert advice to help you take control of your retirement.
Because when it comes to your financial future,
every decision matters.
This is Aspire to Retire.
Welcome to Aspire to Retire. I'm your host, Cheryl Nelson. When it comes to your retirement, do you feel confident or just hopeful? Well, there is a big difference. Hope is checking your balance. Confidence is having a written, coordinated plan. And today we're going to walk through what creates that retirement confidence. We'll discuss income planning, tax coordination, investment alignment, and long-term care considerations. Joining us now are local fiduciaries, Ralph and Tim Short, part of the team at Welcome Home Financial Partners. Always good to see them. It's a Richmond area firm that focuses on helping people plan for a successful retirement. They're also popular radio show hosts on Sunday mornings. Great to see you again.
Thanks for having us.
All right, guys, we're going to dive into this, and we're going to start first with written retirement income plans. What do they actually include?
They actually include what is your expenses going to take.
Oh, the budget.
The budget.
I don't want to do that.
Everybody's taking a look at that. Everybody wants to do it. Everybody has one, right? I mean, I'm sure you've got one,
A
right?
budget?
Yes.
Oh, gosh.
So-
Don't look at me like that. Don't look at me like that.
But I would also think included in that is where's your income coming from?
Mm-hmm.
Where's your paycheck going to come from? Is it just from Social Security, or do you have a pension with Social Security, or do you have any other type of investments that you're going to draw from? So I think the other thing is you want to have a tax strategy that you don't want to overpay Uncle Sam, because I'm pretty sure, Cheryl, you're on the same page as I am. The less that we have to pay them, the better we are.
Exactly.
Because we have more money in our pocket.
Yes.
And we know where we spend their money is a lot better than what they're going to spend their money on.
Right.
Would you not agree?
Yeah, I know. I agree.
So you also have to take into consideration what's inflation going to look like, what's health care going to look like, things of that nature, things that people just don't want to talk about.
Yeah, I know. Tim's over there not talking.
No, I was waiting for the budget conversation to rear its ugly head again. But I think, when it comes down to it, everybody needs to have some sort of monthly income target, right? But without having that budget, without knowing what you're currently spending, how are you going to create that target? So I think that's a big piece of it. Yeah.
I know. And that's the hard part, is getting that budget. Now, do you help folks do that if they say, I have no idea, I just swipe the credit card, I don't keep track? What do you say to them?
I mean, there are a couple ways that you can do it. There are some people who actually want to go through the exercise and list out line by line. Hey, this is what I spend for, streaming services. This is what I'm spending on my cell phone. This is what I'm spending on my credit cards. Yeah. And then there's other people that just say, hey, I just want to make sure that I can have $8,000 or $10,000 or whatever a month. So it's kind of both ways, but we've talked about it in a previous show before, is it's so much easier now than ever to track your spending. Most people use credit cards. Most people don't write checks anymore, but if you do, you still have that ledger. So,
right.
It is fairly easy to do. It just might take you a little bit of time, but once again, if you just have a target or a goal, maybe it's a little bit more simplified for you.
But it does take work on your part. Yes, we can help you, Cheryl,
right.
But we're not going to be able to actually do that work for you and pick up every expense that you have. But a lot of times people will come in and do our roadmap, and we'll go through this type of budget cash flow analysis of what they've got in looking in retirement. And all of a sudden they say, well, no, I don't have $2,000 more a month at the end of the month. Where's it going? I said, well, that's a good question. You might need to go back and review what you gave me to be more accurate, because as I tell people, the more accurate you are with us, the better it is for you, because now you can see exactly what it's going to look like.
And that's a good point too, because there are a lot of people that when we build this roadmap and we say, hey, look, based off the numbers that you provided us, you've got a surplus of $3,000 a month or $5,000 a month, and they look at you with the deer in the headlights look, and we're like, this is what you gave us. Like, now it might be time to sit back down at the drawing board and see exactly what you are spending.
It reminds me of going to the gym and having a trainer, and the trainer holding you accountable for what you're eating and how often you're exercising, what you're doing on your own. It kind of sounds very similar. They'll hold your hand a little bit while you're together, but then you still have to do some work on your own.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. So What about investments? How would somebody know if their investments match their risk tolerance?
Well, I think one of the biggest things is you have to sit there and be realistic about it and say, hey, if the market dropped now 20 or 30%, am I still going to be okay? If the answer is no, you're probably not in the right place. But we've talked about this before as well, is that so many people get so comfortable with where they currently are that they don't want to make any changes.
Yeah.
I can tell you that no matter who you are, what you save, what you're doing, retirement life is going to be different than your working life. So you've got to make sure that you adjust to that, because one of the worst things that you can do is still do what you've done in the past, because guess what? When you don't need the money, it's a lot easier to ride that roller coaster.
Yeah.
Plus you're contributing, plus your employer's probably contributing, so there's a lot to do with that. But once you get into retirement, employer's not contributing, you're not contributing, and if you need the money, then it's a completely different situation.
And I would say to most people, once you are retired, then your risk tolerance should change, because now all of a sudden, like Tim says, you don't have a paycheck to rely on. You've got to create your own paycheck. So if your bank account just went down 20 or 30%, are you going to be able to sleep at night? Are you going to be able to do the things that you want to do and pay all the expenses that is incurring?
Right. And you mentioned about employers matching, in your 401k and whatnot. What about all the folks out there who own their own business, for example, and they don't have anybody matching? Is there anything extra they should be doing?
Well, yeah, I mean, when it comes to self-employment and self-employed and owning your own business, there's a lot of other opportunities out there. So that's why it's very important. Maybe you can take a look at doing like a solo 401k or a SEP IRA. There's other accounts that have different rules, but there's also different things that go alongside of them. And that's where, if you are a business owner and you're watching the television program, it's important to know what you're allowed to do and what you're not allowed to do, because a lot of people, and I know he'll speak on this as well, is if you are self-employed and you own your own company, you look at that asset as your retirement plan. Well, what if you can't sell it? Or what if taxes eat it up? Or what if, you just got to pay attention to these things.
Gosh.
And those are all questions, very valid questions you said, particularly for business owners, because like Tim says, that is what our retirement account is really going to be like, because nobody's matching this. So you need to be aware of what options you have.
Yeah. And so let's say you have a retirement plan. How often do you need to go back and review it?
It really depends on the individual and what they're trying to do, what their age is. I mean, if you're, 20, 30, and 40 years old, you can kind of go with the flow, let's say, and keep things maybe like they are. But the closer you get to retirement, you need to kind of keep an eye out on where your investments are. Do you need to change some things? Do you need to do this? The other thing is, a lot of people, when they leave employment to go to some other job, they might leave that old 401k or old retirement program where they had it. And guess what? We've had clients that come in that's had, 2 or 3 different job, or maybe even 5 job changes. They left it there. They go back to find out where that money is, and all the fees have eaten up what they left behind because nobody was putting money into it at that time.
Whoa, that's crazy. Oh my gosh. All right, that's a good point to stop and take a break. But before we do, Tim, tell us about our special offer.
All right, thank you, Cheryl. So the first 10 callers from today's program, if you've saved $250,000 or more for retirement, pick up that phone, give us a call, 833-897-4845. What we'll do is sit down with you personally and create your very own retirement roadmap just for you. Best part is we'll do that on a complimentary basis.
All right, those phone lines are open. So if you'd like some personal advice about retirement planning or to schedule a consultation, once again, call 833-897-4845 or simply scan the QR code on your screen. More to come after the break. Stay with us.
Imagine the future you've been wanting all along. A world where your retirement income is covered and you don't have to worry. Your financial assets are protected, and you have an experienced team fighting every day to grow your assets. Imagine a company creating tax strategies and legacy plans to make sure your loved ones are protected no matter what happens. At Welcome Home Financial Partners, we're an experienced financial team with the right professional licenses and an unbreakable commitment to making our clients feel like family. Here you'll find determined, friendly faces in a world filled with obstacles and problems. We help plan your retirement income to ensure you won't run out of money in retirement. We build in protection to make sure your assets are covered on all sides. We focus on growing your wealth to combat inflation and rising cost of living. And we design tax strategies to help you avoid paying back what you shouldn't while protecting the people you love. our team never stops fighting for you. With an unparalleled work ethic, we work hard because we know your future depends on it. We're proud to help you choose the life you want to live in retirement. Welcome to your financial future. We're so glad you're here.
Welcome back to Aspire to Retire. Today we are talking about what it really takes to build a retirement plan you can trust, not just in good markets, but in every season. So, okay, market volatility. We hear it going up, going down, worried about crashes, all of it. How do you protect your assets?
I would say number one, you don't depend on the stock market to pay your bills. And what I mean by that is all the money that you've got, you should have some set aside to do the things that you want to do. And at the same time, you got to consider some type of guaranteed income that you've got coming in, whether it's Social Security, whether it's your RMDs, anything like that. But diversify what you have. What I mean by that is not only just investment diversification, but tax diversification.
Yeah, and I think most people, they don't really know. They're a little kind of unsure of what to do in retirement, right? But what you don't want to do is rely on the next few years of the stock market, because stock market doesn't perform, the income level that you might anticipate might go down. So I think it's very important to, maybe have the next couple of years of expenses in safer assets. Now, that doesn't mean not make money, right? But there's a difference between a safer asset and an emergency fund, right? So the emergency fund, you're going to have fully liquid. It's going to be in the bank more than likely. You can swipe a card, you can get to it quickly. But maybe we want to be a little bit more conservative with some other assets that could contribute to the next 1 to 3 years worth of your monthly expenses.
You mentioned emergency fund, so I'm curious. How do you answer the question when somebody asks you, how much money should I have in my emergency fund?
Well, I can tell you that there's a lot of different philosophies behind that. There are so many people nowadays that'll come in with $500,000, $1 million just sitting in the bank.
Whoa.
The problem is that money is not really growing,
Right.
So you want to make your money work. That's not making your money work. But a lot of people get comfortable. Back to that comfortable word. I've said that
My
a million times
goodness.
already. So when it comes to being comfortable, you still need to be smart, right? Whether we have 3 months worth of expenses in the bank, 6 months, 9 months, 12 months, whatever. But also too is you still need to be comfortable. That doesn't mean let's have $500,000 in the bank.
I was going to say, the average person's not going to have that.
Right. No, I mean, we see it quite a bit, but everybody is a little bit different.
Right.
But you want to make sure that your plan overall is working together, and having $1 million or $500,000 in the bank's not really doing much unless it's allocated for a specific purpose. But most of the times we don't see that.
Wow. Okay. All right. So assets, how do you turn them into predictable income? What's the best way to do that with your assets?
I would say number one, you need to understand what it is you need for income, and then we can structure an investment program, income program to design just to do what you want it to do, because you're going to be different than what Tim is. I'm going to be different than anybody else that's out there. So we start with you personally, individually. What is it that you want, and how do we need to get there? And the goal is to provide a paycheck for you when you're in retirement, because now you're not getting a paycheck from work.
Yeah.
Did you
Gosh.
just call yourself unique?
Did he?
I think
didn't-
so.
I didn't think I
He
used
said
that
it was
word.
different than
Do
everybody
you think
else.
he's unique? Is he a unicorn to you?
Yeah, he's very unique. But
Right.
I'm going to
you
call
know,
him a unicorn. How about
Yeah,
that?
right.
Yeah,
right.
it is to the point of, you've got to make sure that your income plan matches what you need and what you want, right? And that's where I think a lot of people, we talk about water cooler talk, and, they're working with somebody for the last 20 or 30 years, and they know a lot of personal stories between one another. Well, that person's going to be completely different than you, right? So you've got to factor that in.
Yeah.
But I would say most people around the water cooler, they're not going to tell you what they have in their 401k. They might talk about, oh man, I'm so good, I made 20% this past year. But they're not going to tell you they got $10,000 in there where you have $1 million. So there's a big difference in that.
For sure.
So you kind of have to use a lot of that with a grain of salt, let's put
Yeah,
it that way.
yeah.
So just be aware.
Now, Social Security timing. I know everybody always asks the question, when should I draw from Social Security? What role does that play? And also, are people worried that it could get taken away, poof, at any moment, and they're wondering, should I just draw it at 62?
Well, there's a lot of people that think that it's going to go away, right? I mean, there probably will be some changes at some point in time. Now, whether it's 2032, 33, 35, whatever, right? Depending on who you're talking to or who you're listening to, it's going to say something one way or the other. So I think it's important. Yes, it's going to be a part of your retirement, but you don't need to solely rely on that. because I know one of the things out there right now is that they might trim the benefit 25%. Okay. Now I know a lot of people, if they were getting $1,000 a month, let's call it, I'm doing easy math here, right? And there's a reduction of 25%. We're at $750. You probably didn't account for that. So you don't want to rely on it solely. But when it comes to claiming, number one, we don't know when we're going to pass away, because if we did, we knew the exact right time in order to claim. But you also have to include your spouse in on this as well, because there's a lot of folks out there where the mom might have stayed at home and raised the kids, so they might not have as long as a working career or vice versa, and there's going to be a breadwinner. Well, that breadwinner more often than not needs to probably delay as long as they potentially can in order for that benefit to come up, because no matter who passes away first, one check is lost.
And I think a lot of people will hear this story about, oh, you better take it right now because Social Security is going to go defunct. They're going to take it away from us. I'm just going to ask you this question. Do you really believe, like I always ask a prospect, do you really believe that the government would be dumb enough to take Social Security away from the general public? What would happen in America? We'd probably have another revolution.
Chaos, right.
Chaos is exactly right. So be aware of that.
Yeah, it's scary when you think about that, because so many of us rely on Social Security. And if people are wondering, how do they know how big their Social Security checks are? Is it based on the highest salary they ever made, or how do they determine that?
It's going to be based off their earnings. Now, some people qualify, some people don't. The majority of folks nowadays do qualify.
Okay.
But what I would say is that they've changed a lot of things over the last few years, where they used to send you out paper statements. Most people don't get those.
Yeah.
So most people need to go onto the website and actually register for that account, and that way they can track their earnings, they can track the estimates, they can do these things.
Really? I didn't know you could do that. I used to get the paper statements, and I haven't gotten one in a while, so now I don't know.
Yeah, and it's important to be informed with that.
Huh,
yeah.
Well, that's good to know.
Yeah.
All right, good stuff. So now when you're talking about taxes, how do taxes impact income sustainability?
Well, I would say this, if you, like Tim was saying, if you needed $1,000 a month, okay, to take out of your pile of money, and now all of a sudden you went from 20% tax bracket to a 50% tax bracket because the government decided they needed more money from you.
Yeah.
So now that $1,000, if you move from 20% to 50%, you're only going to have $500 to spend. Is that going to sustain and do the things that you want to do? Probably not. So what that means is you're going to have to increase what you take out just to keep up with the net that you want.
Yeah. When do you guys think beneficiaries should be reviewed? How often?
Well, they should be done every year, right? But also, too, after big life events.
Yeah.
So whether it's a death of a family member, it's a divorce, it's a marriage, it's, you know, having a grandchild or having another child, whatever. Those are important dates that we need to be up to speed on, because that's what we tell our clients is like, hey, we don't live with you guys, so we don't know your daily life. So if you don't let us know, hey, you know, my husband passed away or my wife passed away or we had another grandchild, you know, we're not going to know. So that's why it's very important to do that either on your own or with fiduciaries. So I think, once again, this is something that's frequent, but also during big life events too.
Yeah, for sure.
And you always need to make sure that you have them correct on the actual companies. If you have a contract, have a 401k, make sure that is correct, because you'll be surprised at how many people forgot about them. And guess what? Somebody else is going to get it and you didn't expect them to get it.
Well, and it's not only that too, is that sometimes some of these companies will change like the platform that they use, and those beneficiaries don't carry over. We had that happen a few years ago, if I'm not mistaken, and it was a big to-do.
Yeah, gotcha. All right, well, time for another commercial break. Tim, our special offer once again.
All right, thank you, Cheryl. So the first 10 callers from today's program, if you've saved $250,000 or more for retirement, pick up that phone, give us a call, 833-897-4845. We bring you into the office personally, where we will create your very own retirement roadmap just for you. Best part is we'll do that on a complimentary basis.
Keep those questions coming. Take advantage of our professionals and call now. Schedule that consultation, 833-897-4845. Coming up next, we will feature some of your burning questions.
It was the longest running bull market in history. Everything was looking up. While inverted yield curves pointed to a recession, the market kept going. And then, if you're planning to retire soon, that could spell bad news for your returns. Our team can help you better withstand the bear market. Now more than ever, you need a financial professional to stand with you. Visit our website to learn more about our services. You can call or email our office to schedule your complimentary consultation today.
Welcome back to Aspire to Retire. It is our favorite part of the show. Time to feature some of your questions. As always, thank you so much for calling in and writing in with your questions. We'll start with Margaret in Midlothian. She says, my husband handles most of our investments. If something happened to him, I honestly wouldn't know where to start. How do we prepare for that? That's scary.
Yeah, I would say to her is that she needs to have a conversation with her spouse and say, do I know where everything is? Do I know what the passwords are on?
Oh, the passwords.
Accounts. What's the username? Those are type of things that she needs to understand. Now, whether or not she knows what to do with the investments, that's a different question. But you'd be surprised at the number of accounts that might be out there that you didn't know anything about. So if you leave them alone and never know about them, guess you might lose that income.
That is such a good point, because you're right. A lot of spouses, they don't know what the accounts are, where the money is, the passwords, the usernames, none of it.
Yeah, you need to keep a simple list with that and keep that in a safe spot. But more preparation today clears up confusion for tomorrow. So that's very important to make sure we're on the same page. You might not know all the ins and the outs, but at least you know what companies, amounts, that type of thing.
But I would also say to them, they need to probably get together as a couple and visit their financial advisor so both of you know who it is that you're going to be working with for the next generation. Because guess what? If I'm gone, does my wife know where to go or what to do? And that's one of the things that did happen to us when one of the prospects came in, had about $7 million. And I asked him, I said, you've done a pretty good job, so what are you here for? He said, we've been watching your show for about 4 years. And all of a sudden, I was talking to my wife, and she goes, hey, I don't know where the money is. I know you've done a good job, but he goes, don't worry about it, dear. You got more money than you know what to do with. And she says, I know that because you did it. I have no idea what to do next. And he goes, that's when I knew that I had to come in and see you and start talking about this.
Right, because what if, a lot of people don't have a financial advisor. So if they're watching at home going, well, I don't know who I would talk to. I don't have a financial advisor. What do I do?
Yeah, well, and that's the thing is, you don't know who to call. Like if you don't have the conversation with your spouse, then something happens to you, where does the spouse turn to, right?
Who
They've got
do they
nobody
call?
to turn
What do they
to.
do?
So now they're in the grieving process trying to figure out where their next check or whatever is going to come from.
Oh my, so it's better to make that relationship now.
Absolutely.
Oh, goodness. Okay. I've got all kinds of homework now, too. Making me think, probably like you folks are thinking at home. Next up, Harold in Charlottesville says, we've saved about $1.1 million, but I still don't feel confident retiring. Why doesn't the number alone give me peace of mind?
Because that's not a plan, right? Your number is just a number on a statement of an account that you've done well saving. It's not going to bring you confidence, right? You can listen to every study out there, every survey, and people are like, oh, we need $1 million, we need $1.5 million, 1.62, whatever, and that number changes, right? And there's not really a rhyme or reason to that. So if you can have that $1 million plus, generate income, how do we do that? That's what this retirement roadmap, that's what income planning is all about. And if you have that written plan, you can visualize what things will look like. So then that way, maybe you feel a little bit more confident, because just looking at your statement saying, hey, I've done good when it comes to saving isn't going to do it for you.
All right, Sandra in Lynchburg says, I get nervous every time the market moves. How do I know if my retirement plan is actually built to handle volatility?
I would say you need a second opinion of where you are, because it will give you confidence to know that, hey, I've got the things invested the way I wanted to, and it's going to last me a lifetime because I'm taking this amount of money out and I'm making more money than I'm taking out, so I should be fine. But you need to have a second opinion, a professional opinion, and a fiduciary opinion, not just somebody saying, oh, yeah, you're okay.
Yeah, and in today's market, every day is going to bring you something different, right?
Yes.
Even in good years, there's going to be really bad times. So that's why it's important, as we're approaching retirement or in retirement, we need to probably de-risk our portfolio a little bit.
Alan in Glen Allen says, I have a financial advisor, but I don't have a written retirement income plan. Is that something that I should have? I know the answer.
Yeah,
Yes.
and I think this was a question we've already had, and I think it, but once again, to hammer that home, is very important to make sure you do have a written income plan, because you're going to be able to visualize what retirement will look like.
And there's a difference between an income plan and an investment plan. It's not just about that investment that you have. It's about what you're going to do with that investment to make it a paycheck coming to you whenever you need it.
Definitely. Denise in Richmond says, how often should a retirement plan be reviewed once we stop working? I think we've touched on this one.
Well, I think it needs to be at least one time a year. But if you're working with a fiduciary, it should probably be more than one time a year, because things change. It's not things are going to be the same for 364 days, and then that 365th day it changes. So that's why being fluid, making sure you got that communication with your advisor, and if you don't have that, then it's probably time for a change.
Robert in Forest says, what is the difference between having investments and having a real retirement strategy?
I think we probably just answered
Yep,
that question
we did.
again,
Yep.
but reiterate what we talked about is there's a difference between an investment plan and a retirement income plan. So you need to be able to know where your paychecks are coming from. That's the big difference between income and investments.
And it's also about repositioning assets, right? We don't want to keep everything where it is, right? So if we've got some safer assets, we've got the emergency savings, we've got still money in the market, all these things are going to kind of coincide. So it's not just where the income's coming from. That's one of the biggest pieces of it. But where is the portfolio? How do we reallocate these things to make sure that plan works?
All right, we'll do one more quickly. Elaine in Harrisonburg says, if one of us passes away, how does that affect taxes and income for the surviving spouse?
I would say you're going to lose one of your Social Security checks, number one, but maybe some other things, pensions, things of that nature. But number thing that you need to understand is you might be in a higher tax bracket because now you're not going to be married filing jointly. You're going to be married. You're going to be singly.
Oh,
Yes.
really?
Yep. So you lose some deductions there, but also too, you could lose pensions and Social Security.
Wow, didn't think about all that. Lots of good information on today's show, guys. I can't believe we're already wrapping this up. Tim, our special offer, one more time.
All right. Thank you, Cheryl. So first 10 callers from today's program, if you've saved $250,000 or more for retirement, once again, pick up the phone, give us a call, 833-897-4845. We'll bring you into the office personally and sit down with you one-on-one and create your very own retirement roadmap just for you. The best part is we'll do that on a complimentary basis.
Sounds good. And retirement confidence does not come from watching the markets. It comes from having a written, coordinated plan. So if you'd like to learn more, don't wait. The first 10 callers will receive a complimentary, no obligation retirement review to help ensure that you are on the right track. If you've saved at least $250,000 for retirement, call now. Again, 833-897-4845, or simply scan the QR code on your screen. On behalf of all of us at Aspire to Retire, I'm your host, Cheryl Nelson. Have a great day.